Hey, what is going on? It is 12 noon on Wednesday, which means time for this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. My name is John Christmas. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every single Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern time, to help you understand the technical side of the real estate industry. And what we're talking about today is, what do realtors do? What is it that realtors do? Obviously, you need a real estate license for it, but especially if you've already taken your pre-licensing course and you're learning a little bit of everything as it relates to real estate, you're wondering, well, what is my role in this whole process? What is it that ultimately I do? And this varies depending on whether you're working with a buyer, seller, landlord, renter / tenant, doing property management. There's a lot of things you can use your real estate license for, but what is the typical realtor? You know, when you hear stories of realtors selling a house and getting paid a big commission check, how does that work? What is it that you do to sell a big house and get paid some big commission check? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We've got a great episode lined up for you. My name is John Carismo, and you're watching Ask the Instructor.
You are watching Ask the Instructor. Absorb the knowledge. Become the expert.
And welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. My name is John Christmas. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every single Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern time. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, hit that little bell icon so whenever it is that we go live or we have new content to share with you to help you grow your real estate business, you'll be able to get notified of that. So hit that little bell icon. And if you like today's episode of talking about what is it that realtors do, what is it that the real estate industry is from a perspective of being a realtor and making money, what would that job look like if that's something it is that you're considering? That's what we're covering today. So let's head over to the board here. The first thing it is really I want to touch on about what is it that realtors do. So not everyone is a realtor. That term realtor is, well, all terms are made up terms, but it's not an official license status. So you need a real estate license. Some sort of real estate license. It could be for where you're starting out. It's a sales associate, but as you gain experience, you can actually get a broker license. But you need to have some sort of active real estate license to sell real estate, to buy and sell real estate. And this is actually more so what the legal requirement is. That whole term realtor, whenever it is that you see it, you usually see one of these here next to it. This means that this is a registered trademark. So this term, it's the realtors aren't necessarily a license. There's no such thing as a realtor license. A realtor is a member of a trade association. So not everybody that has a real estate license is a realtor. However, the people that buy and sell or help people buy and sell real estate on their day-to-day basis, or maybe they're just doing it part-time, they're realtors typically. Because one of the big things you get from the Association of Realtors is the MLS. That's one of the main reasons why people join the Association of Realtors, to access the MLS. Now, what is it that you do with the MLS? Again, what is it that a realtor does? You know, to quickly answer the question, because there's a lot of things a realtor can do, but ultimately what a realtor primarily does is brokerage. Now, what is brokerage? Brokerage is the concept of bringing together There's all kinds of different brokers out there that broker different things, and what they're doing is they're bringing together the sellers and the buyers. Now, the brokerage itself, the brokerage, aka the realtors, typically these people at a brokerage would be realtors as well as having a real estate license. Again, most people who actively participate in helping people buy and sell real estate, they're members of the Association of Realtors because there's a lot of tools, resources, a code of ethics, all kinds of things like that, that is all part of that package deal of the realtors. But ultimately, what we're trying to do at the brokerage here is we're trying to bring together these buyers and these sellers. We're this force that's helping these parties come together to perform a transaction. So the easiest, simplest, most straightforward way I could put it, that's exactly what realtors do on their regular day-to-day basis. Or I should say, this is what they do to get paid. Because there's a lot of things you can do to build your business, maybe eventually get paid, maybe be really helpful to your past clients or whatever the case may be. But what your bread and butter is, your typical business, especially as a realtor. Because there are a bunch of ways a realtor can make money, a lot of different ways. But this is where you get the biggest checks usually. Because what you're getting paid for this brokerage is some percentage of the commission. Let's say this is a 6% type of deal. That's a typical commission. Now, commission is always negotiated, so you could have more, you could have less. It depends on what's negotiated, the value that's being offered, so on and so forth. But let's say that it is a 6% commission. Typically, that'd be split 3% to the selling side and 3% to the buying side. So if we had a average price sale, and an average price sale in Hillsborough County right now is about $418,000. Not Hillsborough County, Tampa Bay area, because that does include Pinellas County, I think a little bit of Sarasota, so kind of the surrounding area of Tampa Bay. It's about $418,000 is the average. So let's do some quick math here. Calculator up here. Let's say that we have this $418,000 property. And there's a 3% commission going to each side. How much is everybody making here? The $418,000 times, what do you say, 3%? And that's going to give us $12,540. Now that's total money coming into the brokerage. If you're just getting started in real estate, chances are when you're just getting started in real estate, you don't yet have a real estate brokerage. And actually, no, I know you don't have a real estate brokerage because there's an experience requirement. You have to have a real estate license, a sales associate license for at least 2 years registered with a broker before you could open up your own brokerage organization. So yes, there may be some cost and splits and fees like that you have at the brokerage, but you know, maybe you're getting, let's say, 70% of this $12,540. So if you're getting 70% of that, $12,540, how much money would that be? $8,778. So still a good payday, and that's where the brokerage keeps 30% of the commission. And there are higher commission splits out there, especially if you join into some sort of real estate team or whatnot. But if you're wanting to start your own real estate business, essentially, if you want to go into business for yourself, now why would you want to do that? Why do realtors become realtors? You know, very rarely. And I remember back when I was in school, and I don't think it was unique just to when I was going to school, but whenever there'd be like, you know, a career day or what do you want to be when you grow up or anything like that, realtor usually wasn't an option, and probably still not to this day. And even if it was, it's usually not something most people are considering. It wasn't something I considered when I graduated high school. When I graduated high school, I'd been told my whole life, you got to go to school, you got to get yourself a good job. And so I went to school, and again, I went to go get a good job, what I thought was a good job. Worked there ultimately for about 5 years before I made my escape, as I like to joke. was great for like the first 2 years until I realized things weren't moving as quickly, as swiftly, as much as I wanted to. And so, after my hopes and dreams being crushed again and again and again and again and again, and it wasn't necessarily crushed, but it was just slow down, hold down, you're young, you still have blah, 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 all like we'll just wait and come on and we'll wait and see and let's just see how this goes, or this whole like perpetual, well, let's just kind of, wait and see. I didn't want to wait to advance my life, to advance my future. And it didn't help that the company I was working at, there was a lot of things that they weren't doing well, that they were struggling with as a whole. So that created an environment where I struggled even when I was one of the top people in the company. And so there was so much that was out of my control and so much that I felt like that was holding me back. And I never wanted to be in real estate. I grew up in real estate. I've got family in real estate. Grew up doing open houses, going to real estate sales meetings, hanging out at real estate offices. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want that to be my life. So I went to school, got a good job. But then, turned out that good job wasn't as good. Or maybe it wasn't great. Maybe it's good enough, but not in my eyes. Took a while for me to figure that out. And again, eventually plot my escape. But what I eventually looked back to was real estate. I was like, all right, well, let me give real estate a second look. Let me get my real estate license. Let me start out part-time, which eventually transitioned to me quitting my job and working in real estate full-time, getting my real estate instructor license, getting my broker license, and the rest history. Seems like it was just yesterday. But this whole thing wouldn't have been possible if I didn't take that leap of faith and believe in myself. But it's hard to take that leap of faith when you don't know what realtors actually do. How do you, and this is what I had researched when I was trying to figure out, okay, what is it I want to do? And I already knew what realtors did just because I had seen that. But then I was like, okay, well, what is it that, how could I do this? What is it that, what really is? Because even though I grew up around it, I wasn't really paying that close of attention of if I did want to actually do it to where I could do it right away. I was just around it enough to kind of knew what went on, but I really still didn't know what I was doing. It's a whole nother story for another conversation about me figuring it out. Long story short, take post licensing. It has a lot of information to help you grow your real estate business. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about the post-licensing course. So if you're in pre-licensing, you're probably wondering this question as well here of what is it that realtors do? And you're like, okay, I got the commission down. If you're in the pre-licensing course, this usually is the easiest thing for us to teach is calculating your pay. That takes no time. And pretty much every real estate class I've ever taught, everyone picks this up really quickly. I have a theory that they know how to do this math before they show up in the class, and that's why they're putting up with all the real estate laws and rules it is they have to learn about. But that could be why people are wondering if they're already in the pre-licensing class or they've even completed the pre-licensing class. You might be wondering, what is it that a realtor actually does? And so in your post-licensing course, this is a course that you need to take after your license to renew your license. Now, your renewal is not until like 18 months after you get your license, but you want to take this course as soon as possible. When I started, again, that little story I alluded to earlier of when I started in real estate, it wasn't as smooth as I wanted it to be. That's because I was relying on my own information. And again, even though I grew up around real estate, I had the false idea that I knew what I was doing. When really, I didn't really know. I just kind of knew, how to look like a realtor, how to sound like a realtor, but I didn't know how to be a realtor, how to actually do the things that a realtor does. And so I want to break this down into two categories, and this is all stuff in post-licensing where it goes a lot deeper in understanding these fundamental mechanics of your real estate business. But let's talk about this for a seller. Because depending on whether you're talking about a seller or a buyer, that's going to change what it is that a real estate professional actually does. So a seller, number one, you've got to find this lead? Some way, somehow. Maybe it's somebody that you already know. Maybe this is a lead that you're advertising to a certain neighborhood, and your commitment is finally paying off, or you're getting people calling you off of your ads, off of your postcards, off of your letters, whatever it is that you might be sending them. So number one is to prospect. Now, there's a lot of different ways it is that you could prospect or try to basically solicit business, essentially, or find business. And this isn't like where you're trying to convince people to sell their house when they really don't want to sell. There might be people that want to sell their house, but they might not understand exactly how, or whether or not now is the right time, or the different factors with the market, or all these different things where the information you could provide them might help them make that decision a lot easier, and they might actually be ready given the right information. But that's what prospecting is. It's finding your business. And this is what you're doing really for you, because you can't do all these other things we're going to talk about after this here without first prospecting to find business. And even if you have leads that you're paying for, you can be subscribed to leads from, say, like Zillow. Companies like Zillow, all these big real estate consumer search websites, they have all kinds of subscription programs where agents can subscribe for leads. And even when you're getting the leads fed to you from a service like that, or maybe from your broker, or maybe you've got really good advertising, you still need to convert them. And that's also part of this prospecting process. So that's number one, what you're doing to find clients in the first place. But then what else do you do? What's number two on the list? So if we're talking about a seller or a listing, that's what we would be doing for a seller, would be listing their property for sale. And in order to list the property for sale, we're basically pricing appraising, valuing, whatever it is that you're wanting to call it, but also from a perspective, and this is why I said pricing first, because pricing is more about positioning the property for the current market, whereas appraisal and the value is more of what the property's worth, whereas this is how we're going to position it based upon what it's worth. And that's what we're doing to help a seller understand how to effectively price their property. Before we even get to marketing, because that's what's number three on the list here, number three thing it is that we're doing for the sellers is marketing. Or really gaining exposure in any way. Because what this seller is ultimately paying you to do is to list their property for sale. You're trying to help them find a buyer. They've agreed to pay you a commission if the property sells, as well as most of the time they're also agreeing to pay the buyer's commission. That's in most real estate transactions. The seller actually pays the commission for the listing brokerage as well as the buyer's brokerage as well. But if no one ends up seeing that listing, if we don't market it or get it exposure, we're not going to get it sold. We're not going to be able to bring them a buyer. So that's a big part of what it is that we're doing there. And the final thing it is that we're doing on the selling side is negotiation. Now, there's a lot of other little like tidbits here and there of things it is that you're doing in a typical real estate transaction with a seller. A lot of little details, but overall, the main overarching things it is that you're doing is number one, prospecting to find the client. You help them price, appraise, value the property, understand what it's worth and how to position it for the most effective sale. Then actually putting the property out there, gaining exposure to the property, marketing it, trying to get as many eyeballs on it as possible. You know, one of the biggest misconceptions, especially with, say, like a for sale by owner, but a lot of sellers have this misconception, is you're not just looking for the buyer. You don't want just the buyer. You want all the buyers. You want all the buyers. All the buyers. Not just one buyer, but all the buyers. And the reason why you want all the buyers is because just one buyer is just one offer, and we don't want just one offer or just one buyer. We want multiple offers, so we could get offers above our listing price, or we could have a bidding war. We could have all these things happening, but only if we have multiple buyers interested. And that means we want to get as much exposure. We want to get as many people into the house as possible. Now, technology is great today because we could do a lot of that virtually. And that allows us to gain even more exposure for the property, where people don't even have to physically be here to be inside the property. I can't wait to see what they start doing with like the virtual reality goggles and whatnot. That hasn't really made its way into real estate yet, but mark my words that especially with all this metaverse stuff and all the Mark Zuckerberg takeover of the world and the universe and whatnot, I'm sure we'll have virtual reality real estate at some point in the future. But anyway, so the final thing it is that we're doing here is negotiation. So when we do market and gain exposure for the property, we're going to get hopefully at least one offer, if not multiple offers with multiple potentially interested buyers. But then it becomes, how do we advise our client in negotiating? And all this isn't from a perspective of advising. So this again is from a perspective of advising. You're not necessarily doing any one of these items 100% on behalf of the client. We're expected to have knowledge on these different topics and ideas here so we can properly advise. We could relay our professional opinion in some case where it's not even a matter of fact. A lot of times this is stuff of opinion. But negotiation especially, we're able to advise them of maybe some strategies that we could use. Okay, well, let's try negotiating this, or let's try offering this, or let's wait and we'll do this then. Or, again, whatever strategy we could implement to help make this more effective. But that's essentially what it is that you're doing with a seller. You're prospecting to find the client. You're helping them price the property and understand its value and position the price for a sale. You're marketing and helping gain exposure for the property, and then you're negotiating. And even once you go under contract, once you do have a negotiated contract, there's still renegotiating, or as it's called, retrading the contract, which happens a lot of times, especially when there's an inspection and something comes up with the inspection. You know, an amateur realtor, will say, oh, well, yeah, it's got all these bad things, let's just go find another property. That's not what you want to do. Now, that might be what the client wants to do, or maybe that's just their emotional reaction. Because maybe they thought this house was perfect, and now they realize it's not perfect, and oh my God, it's not perfect, this isn't going to work. But the reality is there's no such thing as a perfect house. Even new construction houses, look, if you're going to the real estate industry, remember this. Even new construction needs to be inspected. And make sure you advise your clients on that as well. Because there's a big misconception among the general public that, oh, well, it's brand new, there must be nothing wrong with it. And if you've ever moved into a new construction house, or known somebody who has, or seen a new construction house, and maybe poked around a little bit, you'll very quickly find out that there's a lot of things that maybe just get forgotten, or maybe somebody cut a corner, or this never got done, or anything like that. So there's no such thing as a perfect house. But what do we do when there's an inspection with problems that come back? Well, we're negotiating. We're negotiating what the solution's going to be. Because that solution that we negotiate might just be, hey, fix this. If we're talking about new construction, that's typically the case. The builder's like, oh, yeah, sorry about that. No, that's not how we build houses. No, we forgot, they must have forgot to screw in the dishwasher. That's weird. Or, oh, that's weird that this thing leaks here. Yeah, we'll get that taken care of. Usually these new construction homes have warranties, so in new construction, they're always going to basically fix it. But when this isn't a new construction home, when this is a resale home, which, as most homes in the market typically are, there's going to be issues. It's pretty much guaranteed. Now, you're probably actually less likely to find issues in some resale properties than you are in new construction, just because in resale, somebody's already lived in it. And if they've kept it up in good shape, there are immaculate properties out there where nothing really comes back on the inspection. Maybe a few little details here and there, but that's not typical. Most properties are going to have some little things that might need to be addressed before we close. And the way we get them addressed is say, look, we're either going to negotiate getting this repaired, we're going to negotiate that the seller's got to repair this before we close, or we can negotiate that we're going to reduce the price based upon what that issue is. Now, what it is that we would negotiate the price to, or what it is we agree to, well, that's again what we're negotiating between the seller and the buyer. But overall, if you're a realtor or again anyone in a real estate brokerage with a real estate license that's brokering a deal, those are your typical duties that you're performing. But what about for a buyer? What about for a buyer? What is it that you're doing for a buyer? Well, it does start off again, number one, with prospecting. So where are you finding this buyer? It could be somebody that you know, maybe a friend, a family member. Now, if you're not ever talking to people about the fact that you're a realtor, that you have a real estate license, that you can help them buy or sell real estate, you're never going to find out whether or not any of your friends or family need to buy or sell homes. So that's what talking about what you do is. It's prospecting. Whether you're talking about it with friends and family or whether you're talking about it with actual customers or maybe just random people it is that you're meeting. Hey, how about that real estate market? Have you guys seen what's going on here? Yeah, I mean, super generic, but I could literally say that anywhere in the country, probably anywhere in the world. Now, if they don't speak English, I'd probably have to learn their native language there. But any English-speaking place, I could probably say, hey, how about that real estate market? And immediately strike up a conversation. And that's going to work for buyers or sellers. I mean, you really don't know what they are until you strike up the conversation. You get to know them. You build a relationship. And there might not be any immediate need for your business, but at least they know that you're a professional that they could trust should they need your services. But you got to get out there and get as many people in front of you or on the phone with you or on the internet with you or however it is that you're going about getting these leads. Again, you might get some from your brokerage, you might subscribe to services, you might market on social media, you might send out stuff in the mail, you might have emails, you might do YouTube videos, you might do all kinds of things. But whatever it is that you're doing, you got to do something to get business. Now, number 2 is qualifying and counseling. And this is what I see a lot of real estate agents, I would say new and experienced, not doing this part right here of qualifying and counseling. Now you might be saying, well, John, why isn't that a major activity of sellers? Isn't that something you should always be doing with every seller, is qualifying and counseling? Here's my qualification for a seller. Do you own a house? You do. Fantastic. You're qualified to sell it. That's it. That's their one qualification. If they have a house, that's number 1, and they're potentially interested in selling it, that's number 2. We can do a deal with them. And even if they're not potentially interested in selling it, maybe we present them some information and they become potentially interested. So I'm not even looking to see if they're interested in selling. I just want to know if they own a house. Hey, if you own a house, we could do business at some point. Probably not today. You don't need to sell today, right? Of course not. Of course not. I just called you out of nowhere. That'd be a crazy coincidence, but you'd be surprised how often that would actually happen. But hey, look, I just want to introduce myself, get to know you. How do you like the home? How do you like the neighborhood? I'm trying to find out more about the neighborhood for some potential people moving in. What can you share with me about it? You know, if you ever did move somewhere, where might that be? Because remember that sellers are also buyers, and we are going to qualify our seller as a buyer, because maybe when we ask him that question, where are you going to move to? Maybe it's somewhere local. Maybe it's somewhere within driving distance for us where we're willing to do the deal for them, where we could represent them not just on the sale of their property, but also the purchase of their next home. So that's when you probably would maybe do a little bit more qualifying and counseling with and you are going to do counseling with buyers or sellers, but that's more specifically that this is probably where you are really kind of doing that counseling. When I say over here qualifying and counseling for a buyer, is that buyer, just because they want to buy a house doesn't mean they have the capacity to buy a house. And it's unfortunate that not everyone just can immediately just, wake up in the morning and decide to buy whatever real estate it is that they want. But that would be a pretty crazy world we'd live in if we could all just wake up and have whatever it is that we want with no work for it or anything. We probably wouldn't even want that. Who knows? We're not here to debate philosophy. We're here to to figure out how to take advantage of the world it is that we live in, where if we want to get, things for ourselves, we've got to go out there and, make something of ourselves. We've got to get a good job. We've got to make good money. We've got to start our own business. We've got to do something where we have a source of income to be able to purchase a property. Because, look, I'd love to sell you a house, but if you don't have the money and you can't qualify for the financing, there's no possible way. I'm not that good. I'm not that good. But if you don't have money and you don't have credit, then it's going to be difficult. Because first you've got to get money and get credit, and then we could get you in a house. But until then, I've got other people who do have money and who do have credit, who I could serve now. I'll help coach you along the way to get you to that point, and when you're ready to, get to that next step, that's where... And the qualifying and counseling is really what sets up this next step. And so... When I said, there's a lot of buyer's agents that aren't qualifying and counseling their clients, if all they did was ask them if they could qualify for a loan, then almost every realtor out there will qualify and counsel. Most realtors don't want to waste their time, especially the ones who can't get any business going and don't really know how to be a professional about this. So they'll just say, okay, can you qualify? Okay, great. But then it a lot of times ends up being chaos because we didn't do anything more to understand what type of real estate it is that they're needing, what type of lifestyle it is that they have, so that way we could appropriately match up the right community, the right home, the right everything for them. And a lot of times we might be counseling them through this process. And look, if somebody can't qualify for financing, look, we're counseling them to, hey, look, do you have a credit card yet? No? Well, let's get you signed up for a credit card so you can start building some credit. You already got a good job. Let's build up your credit. And, maybe in a year or so, you'll be able to qualify for a loan. Or, you got a lot of maxed out credit cards. I've been there. It happens. Let's get you on a plan to get that paid off, and then once that's paid off, we can help you realize your dreams of home ownership. Or maybe if they can qualify, it's counseling them on, making an offer, and on how it is we're going to be making an offer, and what would be the most strategic way to do this. Because remember, we're not here to be in the driver's seat. It's really our clients that are in the driver's seat, and we're like the driving instructor. And we got one of those little brakes on our side where we could stomp on the brake in the event that this person's about to go send us all crashing into a wall. But ultimately, they have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing behind this wheel of this idea of buying a house. So we got to counsel them through that process. This is what the sales process looks like. This is what your role is. This is what my role is. And we're going to qualify and dig deeper to truly understand what is the right property for you, because you might not even understand that yet. You might not even understand what it is that you want. You might be a little indecisive and might need a professional to help you understand, where the right area it is that you might want to move to, what neighborhood you might want to be in, the style of house. There's a lot of insight we can gain from working with other people, helping them find their dream home to help you do the same. But we need to get them to open up to us, to understand what are the things they're not thinking about, so we can put that all together. And number three, and this is where a lot of realtors typically get hung up, is showing homes. And the number one reason why you'll get hung up on the step of showing homes is not effectively qualifying and counseling. If you don't get to know your client, if you don't get to know really, again, what they're really wanting, what are the things they're not thinking of, a lot of times you're going to be wasting time showing them a home that's probably not going to be a great fit for them, but they want to see it because they don't realize it's not a great fit for them yet because they're not a professional. It's like they're stepping on the brakes and it's like, whoa, oh, that's what that thing does. Yeah, no, I don't want that. That is not what I want. This is not the house that I want. Here, I'm glad we went out here and saw it because now we know we don't want this. Maybe, but if this is like the 47th house it is that you've looked at here, which one is going to be the one? And what's going to happen if you skip this step here? If you skip it, it's so hard to go back up and go back and do this. Because once they start looking at homes, they start getting all these ideas and whatnot in their head. Especially, let's say about qualifying for a loan. Let's say they say, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to talk to the lender, but I don't want to talk to a lender until I find the right home so I know how much to ask for. And let's say we're somebody who doesn't have a good response to that, who's maybe new to real estate, not sure what they're doing, and we just say, okay, yeah, that sounds good. But really what we should say is something like, well, the last thing I want to do is show you a $500,000 home when maybe you could only qualify for $400,000. And it maybe doesn't sound the best because they might say, well, no, I could definitely apply. All right, well, prove it. Prove it, kid. But if we go and do that, if we go show them a $500,000 home, $700,000 home because they can afford it, trust me. All right, sure. Maybe I don't have a good response to that. Let's go find out. I'll trust you. You seem like a trustworthy person. Let me trust you. Okay, this is the one you want, $750,000. Okay, great. Let's go get you qualified so we can put it in an offer. And maybe they do qualify. But you know what happens by the time maybe they have the qualification? Maybe the house is gone. Maybe that house is no longer available because they weren't prepared. And that's part of us counseling them. Because if we don't tell them that house could quickly slip away from their fingers, that at any moment there's people that have looked at that house the day before, maybe a couple days before, even if it just hit the market today, there's maybe people that have already looked at it online where there's maybe multiple offers coming in. And if we got to wait to get approval on the finance side of things, we might lose out on that perfect property. So that's completely out of order, and that's why the counseling is so important, because this is how you could lose out on homes and you have to go back to showing homes. Or, again, maybe you showed them a bunch of $700,000 homes to find out that they can only afford $400,000. And now you're back to showing homes, but now you're only showing $400,000 homes. And are any of those $400,000 homes going to look anything good after you just looked at all those $700,000 homes? No, none of them are going to look as good. And that's all the ideas now that are in our head, and it's your fault because you weren't the professional that walked them through the process. And there's tons of realtors you could talk to that love to play the blame game. The blame game just costs you money. Because what's going to happen is you're going to run into these issues and problems again if you continue to behave in the same way. Whereas if you change what it is that you're doing to proactively prevent these bad situations from happening, you could drastically shorten this process of showing homes, to show less homes, to show homes more effectively, to show more of the right homes, so that way they're going to be ready more so for the next step of offer and negotiation. And again, that's another part it is that we're highly involved on. And again, same thing when it comes down to, saying maybe there's an inspection done. And in that inspection, we find out that there's maybe some problems, some issues, some things that we didn't know that were in there. Well, we're going to negotiate, again, getting that repaired, or negotiate a decrease in the price there. But in a nutshell, that's basically what you're doing. One other thing, if I were to put a number 5 up here, the number 5 thing, and I would kind of lump it in with that negotiation, because that's what we're doing. We're making sure this all gets done in the event that we need to renegotiate, but we don't always renegotiate. So you know what? I will put this on here for number 5 of the 5th thing it really is that you're doing here. And we'll just call it transaction coordination. And you can actually outsource this aspect of transaction coordination. There's actually a lot of people out there that are transaction coordinators, that are actually people that might even be licensed and can actually do a lot of things if they actually are possessing a real estate license as a transaction coordinator. And this is something that's a relatively low cost, maybe a couple $100. So if you're making like an $8,000 or $9,000 commission, this might be worth it for you to manage this kind of final step, or what they usually call the contract to close. Because in that contract, there's typically a few different clauses or contingencies. You have your inspection period, a time period, typically 15 days, although it can be negotiated, of how long you have to get an inspection done and ultimately decide if you want to continue with the contract as is, back out of the contract, or renegotiate the contract. Because that's basically your options. We continue as is, maybe nothing comes back in the inspection. The inspection is great, fantastic, cool, full speed ahead. Let's move along. maybe the inspection is a disaster. Maybe the whole house is literally falling apart. It's about to collapse on itself. It's a safety hazard. Don't go anywhere near it. And so that's option number 2. Okay, let's not buy this house. As long as we're still within our contingency window, we could do that. Or option number 3, let's renegotiate this contract. You know, we did our due diligence and we found out there's some issues with the property, and we'd like to request a price reduction. We'd like to request these repairs to be completed. Or whatever it is that you might be asking for. You just negotiate it out. Now, the transaction coordination aspect of this is making sure this stuff gets done, or making sure whatever party needs a certain document or contract or whatever it is. It's just a bunch of little things. Little things that are necessary to get the deal done. Because if we miss that inspection window, we're locked into the contract. So let's say our contract said we had 15 days to inspect and decide if we want to continue with the contract as is, and it's day 16 and we dropped the ball because we forgot. Yesterday was day 15. Our client is now locked into the contract. And yeah, we could sit there and blame it on them. Well, you should have read the contract. But they're going to wonder why they hired you if... And yes, they should still read the contract, but you being condescending about it when really you should have been pointing out, hey, look, we got this date right here, and really you should be going above and beyond, because we're not going to sit here and argue about whose job it is to know when 15 days is. The only person with a job here actually is you as the real estate professional, not your client. This isn't your client's job to buy houses. Maybe they're an investor, and that would be maybe a little different, but if this is just a consumer, it's your job to guide them through this transaction. And part of that guidance, this is part of the counseling aspect of this here, is guiding them through this whole process here. And we want to make sure that we don't miss that deadline. What we could do if we're running out of time is we could extend our inspection period or cancel the contract. As long as we're within that 15 days, we always have the ability. That gives us a lot of leverage to renegotiate if we need to. But once that time period expires, we lose that capability, which is, again, why it's so important to be on top of those dates if you want to effectively get that transaction completed there. So look, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're talking more about what real estate professionals do. Remember, like I said, in pre-licensing, there's a lot of laws and rules and basic information that is going to be essential to making sure you don't lose your real estate license, and more importantly, at least right now, getting your real estate license in the first place. But then the question is, what do you do with your license after you have it? And that's where post-licensing comes in. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. Stick with us. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor.
Have you completed your post-licensing education yet? Look, I know you're probably thinking, hey, it's not my renewal deadline. I don't need to do post-licensing yet. But look, here's why you want to do post-licensing as soon as you've got your real estate license, as soon as you're able to take post-licensing. It's not just another course about arbitrary laws that you're never going to use again. It's about real-world, usable topics that'll help you grow your real estate business, to help you take it to the next level. Look, let me ask you this one question. If this course helps you close just one deal, if you get one extra deal from post-licensing, is it worth the investment? I'd say it is. We get paid pretty well, so one deal means a lot of money. Check out postflorida.com. That's postflorida.com for the full details about post-licensing.
Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. My name is John Chrismo. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every single Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time. Make sure you hit that bell icon so you get notifications whenever it is that we go live and have new content. And if you like today's episode about what is it that real estate agents do and you want to see us do more stuff about that, hit that thumbs up button for us so we know what content to give you more of. Because ultimately, we're on a mission here to help you achieve your dream real estate career. And this is actually a live show. So I've got the Facebook chat loaded up on here. If you've got any questions specifically or anything like that, I know a bunch of you might be watching on our website, but if you could hop over to Facebook, you'd actually chat with us live on here as well, or you just sit back and enjoy the show. What's going on, Mike? Welcome back. Good to see you in here again. But let's get right over to this again. What is it that realtors do? So we've talked about basically your overall things it is that you're doing, whether you're working with a buyer or a seller. But what does a typical day look like? What would your day look like as a realtor. You know, kind of zooming in now more on just a single day as opposed to the overall look at what you would do at any point, whether it's a buyer, seller, any case. So if you're in a position right now where you don't have any clients, one thing you have to do, one thing and only one thing, is to prospect. That's number one that you want to do on a regular daily basis. And the great thing about prospecting is that there's so many different ways to prospect. You could prospect in person with people it is that you work with. Let's say you're starting real estate part-time. One of the most popular ways that people actually start their real estate career actually isn't starting full-time. It's actually starting part-time. A lot of people are doing this on the side, on top of their current job, maybe because they just want to supplement their income, or maybe because they're trying to replace their current job. So you might be prospecting with people in person, your coworkers. Yeah, I got my real estate license. I haven't decided if I want to stay here, if I want to do real estate full-time, but I'm learning a lot of stuff. It's really exciting. A lot of crazy things going on in the real estate market. Do you watch it at all? Really? Yeah, when did you buy your house? Oh, you did a couple years ago. Awesome. And notice how you're just getting into a conversation here. So that's going to be a really effective way to, again, build really strong relationships, is anytime you get face-to-face with people. The next best thing I would say face-to-face is like maybe some sort of video call, or maybe just like a pre-recorded video or something like that, because it almost is like face-to-face. Think of like a Zoom or a FaceTime or a Google Hangout, or even like what you're watching right now live. Maybe if you're trying to reach a larger audience, you're doing something like this to show people, you know, how it is you could buy a home, or why now might be a good time to capitalize on the real estate market, or any information as you might be sharing, you know, through video. Or maybe you're doing it through audio. You're maybe picking up the phone and you're calling someone to talk to them about real estate, to talk about your services, to see if there's any possibility that there might be an opportunity for you now. So that's the number one thing it is that you want to do on a regular basis. And when I say it's the number one thing, this is something that you want to do immediately. Because if you don't have clients, you need clients. You're not going to make any money until you have clients. And even if you have leads, even if you're given leads, those leads just don't call you up and say, hey, we're closing on this day. Make sure to come pick up your commission check. That's just kind of ridiculous to think that you're just going to get a lead and kind of just, which of course not. Of course you're not thinking that you're just going to get a lead and then just get a call on commission day and you get paid your big check just because you had a real estate license. That's not how it works. But that's what our mind thinks when we don't know what the specifics are of what it is that we've got to do. If we don't know what the specifics are of what it is we got to do, that's what our mind thinks. And it's disappointed when we don't have lead equals check, lead equals commission. So we've got to prospect. We've got to find leads in the first place. We don't have any, or we need to convert those leads that we do have. And what if none of those leads are ready to convert? What if none of the leads are ready? It's not that the leads are bad, it's that the leads are not ready. You got to give them time. And what you do is you follow up. That's still what prospecting is. So number one is prospecting, and there's only really one other thing it is that you do that really contributes to generating money. It's either something to help you generate leads, or it's something to help you service your clients. So we talked about a bunch of possibilities of things you might be doing, again, to generate leads, to find business. That could be, again, face-to-face meetings you're having with people, maybe videos, video calls, webinars or seminars, or maybe in-person seminars. Maybe you're running ads. Maybe you're doing postcards. Maybe you're subscribed to something like Zillow. Maybe your broker provides you leads. Maybe you've been farming a certain area. Whatever it is that you're doing, a lot of different ways to prospect. And that's what you should be doing whenever you're not servicing a client. If you're not servicing a client, you should be working on getting more clients. Maybe you're working on improving your service. That could be involving maybe doing trainings. That could involve maybe enhancing certain things. But I wouldn't worry about servicing clients until you have clients to actually service. So that's where the prospecting comes in. But then what are those things that you're doing on a regular daily basis to service your clients? It might just be calling to check in with maybe a seller with a listing that you have to give them an update of maybe how many people came to the open house over the weekend, or giving them an update of how many views the property has gotten on the internet, or giving them an update about the status of the contract currently, or just little things like that. Maybe whether it's a buyer, we're checking in with them, making sure they're getting their inspection done if it's already under contract. Maybe we're sending them out some properties and trying to see, hey, is this maybe something you would consider? Which one of these two do you like better? So we're servicing them because we first have to get the business, and then we need to service the business. And once we do these two things, you get paid. You make money. You find the business, you service the business, you find the client, you service the client, you will get paid. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And sometimes that when is a ways out. And that's something we have to be okay with, wait for. But what's important is that you have enough other clients so that you can afford to wait for this one client. If you're frustrated that somebody's not ready to buy or sell right now, it's because you don't have enough clients. That's the only reason you're frustrated that this person doesn't want to buy or sell right now. Because what is it to you if they buy or sell? And you might be saying, well, that's how I get paid. Well, yeah, but if you got other people that are ready to buy or sell, why do you need to force this person to buy or sell? So it's not about trying to convince people to buy or sell that don't want to buy or sell. We're here to help people do what they want to do. Give them the right information to help make sense of it, but we're not here to force any real estate on anybody. The thing is, most people want real estate. We're not selling something that people don't want. We're selling stuff that people want. We're just helping them understand how to make sense of it, whether it is a good fit for them and what they want to do, whether that's on a buy or a sell. And if it is, great, fantastic. We'll do a great job servicing you. But look, that's about all the time we've got for today. So if you like today's episode about what do realtors actually do, again, it's basically these two things. They find clients who want to buy or sell homes. Again, going back to that first term that we talked about way at the beginning. In case you missed this, the whole thing was like, I still don't understand what realtors do, so let's just touch on this quickly in case you missed this from the beginning. But what real estate professionals essentially do is broker real estate transactions. Meaning they're bringing together buyers and sellers, and they're getting paid a commission for bringing together those buyers and sellers. We did an example here with a $418,000 sale, with a 6% overall commission, where 3% goes to the seller's commission, the brokerage, and 3% goes to the buyer's brokerage. That 3% ends up being $12,540. Now, unless you're a broker with your own brokerage, which you can't immediately start out as, you have to have at least 2 years experience before you can open your own brokerage. You'll have a brokerage. There'll be some negotiated commission split or fee structure for the broker to be able to cover their costs and provide the service they provide to you as their agent. Let's say that's 70%, where you're getting 70% and the broker keeps 30% of the commission. That's still almost $9,000 that you're getting paid. And the crazy part is, if we do the math based on the National Association of Realtors on how much time it takes on average for the seller, according to the National Association of Realtors, on average it takes only 8 hours. So if we take this $8,778 and divide it by 8 hours, because again, that is the average according to the National Association of Realtors of how long it would take to get this house sold. So we take 8,778, we divide that by 8 hours, and that gives us an hourly pay. Now, of course, this is before expenses and whatnot. A little different when you're running a business as opposed to you have your own, where it's a job where all the expenses, except for your personal expenses, are covered. But you got a lot of room for some business expenses here. And the great part is you get to take advantage of those business expenses. As we always hear like entrepreneurs and self-employed people saying they're going to expense something or write it off or whatever it is. That's because this money that's business income, you have a little bit more capability to expense stuff versus compared to what you can with your personal income when it comes to taxes. So yeah, a lot of money there, and that's per hour. Now, if this is a buyer, according to the National Association of Realtors, with a buyer, it's 24 hours. So let's try that same 8,778, but now divided by 24 hours. And that's still $365.75 per hour. So you're looking at making between, on this sale here, if you're following the formulas from the Association of Realtors of being average, which I don't recommend being average, but average is a great place to start out. It's a great place to start out with. Just don't stay average. But even at average levels, according to the Association of Realtors, 24 hours to work with a buyer, which puts us at $365 an hour. Only 8 hours on average to work with a seller of working time that you're spending. So that puts you at $1,097. So again, you're looking at about $350 to $1,100 an hour on a transaction of this magnitude. And this is an average price sale in Hillsborough County. That's $418,000 here. So a lot of money to be made. And again, what it is that you're doing to make that money, to earn the commission, is if this is a seller, you're finding that seller, finding this client, finding the people that need your services. You're helping them price, appraise, understand the value, and position the property to effectively price it for a sale based on the market, based on the condition of the home, based on a lot of different factors. We're marketing that property to get exposure, putting in the MLS, posting it on social media, maybe doing mailers if we're really kind of going all out to get exposure for the property. And then we're negotiating the contracts. And then if we're working with a buyer, on the buyer side, we're, again, prospecting to find a buyer that needs our services. We're qualifying and counseling them to see, okay, not only are they qualified to buy real estate, not only do they have the funding, the financial capability, either through cash or being able to obtain a loan, but do they know how to buy it? Chances are they don't. Even if they bought a home before, it's probably been a while, and things probably have changed, so they probably need some counseling and support from you to help ease them through this process as efficiently as possible. And efficiency is really important when it comes to showing homes, because that average of 24 hours versus 8 hours, I guarantee you a big factor of it, probably the most time spent, is in that step there of showing homes. Because you can talk to a lot of realtors of, oh yeah, we looked at a home, we looked at one, we looked at another, we looked at them, and they just keep looking at homes, they don't want to make a decision. Well, are you making it easy for them to make a decision? Because if you didn't effectively qualify and counsel them, you're probably not making it easy for them to make a decision. But then once they do find that right home, we're helping them make an offer and negotiating that offer, and then coordinating the transaction to make sure inspections get done, to make sure everybody's staying on top of this here. You could think of yourself almost like the CEO of the transaction, that you're not doing a lot of these other parts. The title company's doing the title work, the lender's doing the loan work, the surveyors surveying the property, the appraisers understanding the value, the inspectors trying to find issues. So you've got all these moving parts here. We want to make sure that everybody's doing their part on time, so that way the transaction goes smoothly, because if it doesn't close, we don't get paid. So we want to make sure we get to the closing table, and that's what transaction coordination is all about. Relatively easy, as long as you're, again, staying on top of these things. It's, again, just making sure certain deadlines aren't missed and things like that. So, again, relatively straightforward and simple stuff, but if it's not done, it could be detrimental to the transaction. But overall, that is what real estate professionals do. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode of State of Real Estate. And yeah, Mike, your question there, agents paid a 6% commission. So the typical commission that you will often see, again, commission is always negotiated. I've got to say that because there's antitrust laws regarding price fixing of commissions. But if there was, let's say, a 6% commission, that 6% is typically split between the two sides of the sale. Now, if you actually work with the buyer and the seller, if you represent both sides, which is 100% possible, and the transaction broker relationship that's the default legal relationship in Florida allows you to automatically go into doing that, to where you could work with the buyer and the seller and earn the entire 6% commission. Now, if there was a 12% commission overall, then each side could have 6 and 6. But if it's a 6% commission overall, that's usually split 3 and 3 for both sides of that there. And nothing regarding the law with commission. I've heard a lot of stories. I've never witnessed it firsthand, but I've heard a lot of stories of real estate agents out there saying things like, oh, I have to charge at least this commission, it's the law, or the realtors say I have to charge this much, or things like that, which that's actually a violation of antitrust price fixing laws. So that if you've heard anything like that, that is 100% misinformation for it, because anywhere in the United States, commission is always a negotiated amount. So maybe you see 6% a lot, but again, on every case by case basis, it's a negotiation between what you're willing to work for as a brokerage and what the client's willing to pay. And you don't necessarily have to, if somebody refuses to pay you the commission it is that you want to charge, you don't have to work with them. They could go hire somebody else if anybody's willing to pay them that commission. Because the open free market says there might be somebody out there. And if not, then they come back to you and they say, all right, fine, I'm going to pay that what it is. But if the reason why no one else is out there charging a lower commission is because there's some conspiracy to have a certain set rate of commissions, that's where we've got price fixing. So kind of a fine line with that there. But yeah, so commission, it's always a negotiated amount, but you'd have your total commission. This is what the seller's agent. So when we're talking about, pricing, appraising, valuing the property, one of the parts of that discussion is helping the seller understand how much money they would net, how much money they walk away with, which that's where it's going to factor in what our commission is, what our closing cost is, and all kinds of different factors like that. So definitely a great question. Thank you for that, Mike. But doesn't look like there's any other questions. If you guys have anything else, drop it in as a comment, or better yet, just give us a call. We have advisors standing by, people who are real estate sales associates, brokers, real estate instructors. That's who our staff is here at Tampa School of Real Estate. So they're not just, some random people who don't know much about real estate. These are all people who real estate is their lives. We've got a really great organization, a really great team here, and we're all on a mission to help people achieve their dream real estate career. So anything it is that we could do, anything we could share with you to help you better understand real estate, the opportunities that exist out there, how you take advantage of those, call us up, 813-333-2676. We're here to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that we can. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hit that little bell icon so you get notifications whenever we go live. And again, if you like today's episode, hit that thumbs up button for us. We'll be back on this Friday for State of Real Estate at 12 noon. That's our weekly mastermind to grow your real estate business. But that's about all the time it is that we have for today. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back on Friday, but until then, you guys have a great day.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam. Are you studying for your Florida real estate exam? If you are, you need to check out our Pass First Try strategy. You're going to love this. It's 4 steps that we break down the process to study for your Florida real estate exam. So you're set up to pass your Florida real estate exam because that's what you're studying for, right? To pass your exam. It's 4 steps. Number 1, you learn the information. You've got to learn this to be able to pass the exam, but it doesn't stop at learning. Step 2, you've got to reinforce the basic, simple, key concepts. As you learn this information, keep reviewing the simple things. You don't need to know everything, but you got to review these basic key concepts. Step 3, you've got to test your knowledge. The exam's going to test your knowledge, so if you don't test your knowledge in advance, you won't find out if you know what you think you know until you take the exam. And then step 4 is be confident and prepared, because even if you know this material, you need to be confident that you know the material. Check out the full strategy at passfirsttry.com. That's passfirsttry.com.
Hey, so if you're thinking about starting a real estate career, it could feel a little overwhelming sometimes. Look, that's completely understandable. That's why we're here to help. If you haven't already, check out our Success Center, tampaschool.com/success, or if you don't even know where to begin, give us a call. We'd love to help you out. We've got advisors standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that we can. Our phone number is 813-928-0106. Again, that's 813-928-0106. Give us a call. We're the Tampa School of Real Estate.
Do you want a career that allows you to be in control? With a career in real estate, you'll get to call the shots. Whether you're looking at starting part-time or want to become the next top agent, a career in real estate makes it possible. Find out what it takes at tampaschool.com. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Are you thinking about a career in real estate? Hey, I'm John Chrisma with the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we've helped thousands of people just like you obtain their real estate license. If you're thinking about a career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can. Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.